questions. Uh, Welcome to episode 117 of Flat Earth and Other Hot Potatoes. This is the Secret Hangout. Why is it named that? I'm often asked. Well, it's a play on how the powers that should not be always meet in secret and plot against us. We, the Flat Earthers, on the other hand, publicly hang out and try to break down the programming that has been foisted on us. Plus, we just like to talk together. Guests this time around in the Secret Hangout are Mig Mag. He's got a channel by that name, and he's had it since May of 2016. He was born in Canada, left when young, and he currently lives in Finland. We're going to talk with him about many things, including alternative health. Also, we have Ian Leahy here. He sometimes goes on YouTube under the name Liam Erie on a channel called Flat Earth, and we'll discuss that in a bit. He lives in Dorset, and he's from Southampton. He's a family man and very involved in Flat Earth. As always, I'm joined by David Weiss, Nathan Oakley, and Antonio Subarats, and if they want, my 3 cats. They're locked up currently in the stairway, and I'm not cruel to them. We'll let them free in a bit, but at this point, I don't think so. A couple things we're going to talk about, Dr. Judy Wood and Flat Earth, and why Crow 777 is amazing us all right now with his latest podcast, and the Hillary Green screen. David Weiss will talk with us about that. Well, we'll also discuss which is better, cakes or crepes. Antonio Subarats will be discussing that. Nathan Oakley and Antonio will talk about the sun and moon tracking coming up September during the equinox, and Mig Mag, as I mentioned earlier, talking about health, and Ian and I will just chime in wherever necessary, I guess. So it is On With the Show, episode 117 underway, and I hope chat will be going nicely. How are you doing, Antonio?
I'm good. Thank you.
Good.
Where's Jaron and Missa?
They were supposed to be here, but, well, I think many of us, we love Jaron, but he's just not the most, we need to chip in and buy him a clock.
He's too big for us. We're too small for him. That's what it is.
I think that's
wrong. He's verging on 50,000 subscribers now. He's about 500 off, so you're maybe not wrong.
I think a coordinated attack on his channel today will solve that.
Yeah.
All unsub today from Jaronism. Sub again tomorrow.
In protest, exactly. I did want to talk a little bit about the current campaign of Thumbs Down, and Crow 777 in his recent podcast was discussing how trolling is a big issue. And David, you sent that podcast to us, Antonio and I here to listen to, and we saw that. I saw that.
Yeah, Crow has an amazing podcast. He gives away the first hour for free on YouTube. Check it. The problem is when you get to the end of that first hour, you're going to want to subscribe. Best $5 you can spend for a month. That's all I have to say.
And he was talking, though, about how the subject is so big, and that's why these people who are almost professional trolls are hanging on until their fingertips turn blue. And they've got to know, Crow thinks, I think so too, they've got to know that they're holding on to a lie, and they must be doing it on purpose, most of them. Does anybody have any opinion on that?
One of the things he talked about, there's different kinds of trolls. There's trolls that are just people that are afraid to see the truth, and they just troll. And then, there's some organization of trolls out there. I don't know who it is or what it is. I don't like calling anybody a shill, but he theorizes that they're going to use the trolling, the stalking, the anonymity of the internet as a reason to make everybody have an ID. To use the internet, you have to have a global ID, a world ID, and Facebook has tried it already. Facebook makes you jump through hoops to prove who you are, if you get locked out of your account. So that's what they're going for, because they want total control.
Yeah, I have experience.
Can I just add something to that? Sorry.
Yes.
There's a way to tell them apart, in my humble opinion, and that is that they have a severe lack of cognitive dissonance, the ones that may be classed as professional trolls, the guys you said that will type until they're blue in the face. You will lead them to a point where any reasonable, normal person would have a moment that, I know Antonio just describes it as a kathunk moment, where they can't quite wrap their head around the cognitive processing of what you've just told them, and they don't have that. They literally just go back to the start of their argument process and just start afresh. therefore the point that is normally a really good point gets completely lost. And I'm kind of referring specifically to some of these flat Earth debate channels that are cropping up. But yeah, the ones that seem to be professional trolls don't have any cognitive dissonance.
It's like training. You know how the police, I'm sure I said this recently, or maybe I dreamed it, but the police are trained not to react to women screaming. You know, for instance, when they're doing crowd control, that they are taught to not respond to the screams of a woman as a normal human being would respond. So what Nathan is saying is, it looks like some of these people have received training. Otherwise, naturally, they would go into the natural response, which would be a kathunk moment, or the gears cogging, hold on a second, yeah, actually, that's true. They don't go through this. They have these, quick fire responses as if they're trained.
I noticed
That's crazy. I've never heard that before.
About the women screaming, I didn't know that either. They're trained to ignore women screaming.
Of course, otherwise
that's mad. That's terrible. It's really bad.
Actually.
And SWAT teams they have masks on most of the time. A lot of the police are being militarized, and they've done studies when you are behind a mask, you will do things that you wouldn't do when people can identify you. Facial contact, that's why all of this, texting is really a bad way to communicate. FaceTime's a little better, because you can see face to face, but there's nothing like being in person. But being behind a mask will make somebody do a lot more, evil things than otherwise.
And that's exactly what these trolls are. They are hiding behind a mask.
I'd love to
That's
have
why we need
Russia.
to have internet, identification cards. I'm all for it. I'm voting for it.
I'd love to interview certain trolls, well-known ones. Jem Panda's a really intelligent man. I've listened to him talk. I mean, he's on the wrong track, but of course he would never be on to be interviewed because he would never reveal his face. And his reason is that he's, I think, something like, I'm 55 years old and no one wants to see me. I mean, that's not his reason. Come on.
Well, he told us his real reason, although he didn't give it as his real reason. So he told us on an interview, not an interview, a hangout that Antonio held, that he detailed about his experiences in a video game called Second Life. And as soon as he said that, I thought, how telling is that? Somebody who creeps around in Second Life is now creeping around on YouTube, on the Google Hangouts, in virtually the same way. No real identity. And that's exactly the same as Second Life, as far as I'm concerned. He's just carried on the same way of being on the internet.
His username and icon are kind of creepy, and I'm not putting the guy down. I'm just saying it's a panda and some colored gems. What does Gem Panda mean? Who would ever think of that as a username? It's just weird.
It might be an anagram name.
Yeah, I guess.
Might be. Listen, on this trolling thing, I've just looked up just to see. I've typed in professional trolling, all right, just to see if there is any. More and more posts and commentaries on the internet in Russia and even abroad are generated by trolls. There are thousands of fake Twitter accounts and Facebook live journals, blah blah blah, and they emanate from Russia's most famous troll factory, which is the Internet Research Center. It's an unassuming building in St. Petersburg, where it runs a 24-hour cycle, and it's all about putting the Kremlin in a pro light. Now, that's just stuff you can find. They must be paid by. There must be thousands of trolls put forward for this flat Earth, against the flat Earth, and every sort of truth movement. They don't even try and hide it. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and what you just found was the Moscow-based or St. Petersburg-based. So the US will have hubs,
And Israel does too,
Absolutely.
with the same thing. Israel
Everyone,
with
every single country.
Yeah. So I found that one kind of really easy way of finding, and David has mentioned this to me privately when we were having a top-ranked meeting, that
top-ranked meeting.
The way
on that note, I'm getting the cats.
The way these people behave is they just talk naturally. So I totally lost my train of thought.
But these people in Russia, Anto, these people in Russia are getting paid 45,000 rubles. They're getting paid higher than the average wages and everything, just to
Yeah.
go and do this. And there's
Total
hundreds
silence.
and thousands of them.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's-
But
it's
what-
mad.
what
I
David-
don't think it's necessary to have hundreds of thousands of paid flat Earth trolls, because you only need a handful of them to demonstrate the type of behaviour that's tolerated amongst this community. And if you can illustrate that to the masses, people will just jump on board based on how strong the globe programming is. People will just see it and go, "I agree. I want to do that too." And look, that guy's doing it. So can I.
I don't know. I don't know how many people are doing it, but I agree with you, Nathan. That if you just look at the flat Earth argument, everybody is a troll. All of the people that are hearing it for the first time, they're just out there fighting it adamantly. They don't need that many. They just need some people to set the tone. And by the way, that's why I have set all my videos to comments on approval only. So when you comment, it's not going to show up for anybody until I approve it. And I'll approve any comment that makes sense. If you don't agree with something I'm saying, tell me why you don't agree with it. Put the link and I'll approve it. So there you go. Just had to throw that in.
Yeah, what I was going to say, what David said, I've remembered now, is that these guys, the trained guys, they support all of the standard media stories. So that fluoride is good for you, that 9/11 happened the way the establishment tells us, all the basic stories, the common narrative, they support all of those things. What I used to do to out whether or not I was talking with a paid troll or an unpaid troll was ask their stance on Israel. And what I noticed was that when, what's your position on Israel? I would just say, on a side subject, just so I know, so we can meet on common ground, what's your position on Israel, or where do you stand on the Israel-Palestine situation? The paid trolls, I would not hear any more from them. Others would say, I don't see what that has to do with anything. Well, actually, they would engage. But the ones that were paid, that I've concluded were paid, would completely drop out the scene.
What are you insinuating?
That Israel is doing some of the paying, and that's one other topic.
How dare you? How dare you? How dare you?
Yes. So, but I can tell you something else. I have some contacts that are slightly not on the straight and narrow in life, as you might call it. And some of these people in Spain were paid hooligans. And the way the paid hooligans work is they receive a payment from a very high-ranking person, usually a politician. In fact, in this case, it was a politician, a local politician in Catalonia, in Spain. What this guy would do is he would pay 10 of them the equivalent to £10,000 each. Now, these 10 guys would go to a football match and they would kick off. Now, with them, hundreds of people would start a fight. The hundreds of people haven't been paid. It's only these 10 that have been paid. And the same with trolling. You only need, like Nathan said, you only need a few paid trolls, and other people will troll just because it's the kind of thing that they would enjoy doing anyway.
Yeah.
The other
These
dead
are-
giveaway.
These are tactics also. Sorry,
No, you
Go
go.
ahead,
you go.
Mick-Mac.
I've talked far more than you.
Yeah.
they use those tactics also in protests. With the police. They might have the
Agents
some,
provocateur.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Just to get the
Mick-Mac,
police to get more aggressive.
could you tilt your camera again so there's less room above your head? Just right.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, good.
I was going to say,
An
sorry,
easy-
David, that
Perfect.
distinguishes is the amount of knowledge. So some of these people, I mean, I considered myself fairly well versed in the heliocentric system before I came to flat Earth. Yet I get blown out of the water by some of these people. I'm not suggesting that I should be infallible in my heliocentric knowledge by any extent, but when you come across a standard person, and this was really well demonstrated by Jaron recently on his most recent interview, but people don't understand the heliocentric model. They generally haven't got a clue, or they'll have a certain amount of stuff wrong. Not all of it, but something that you can pick them apart on. Whereas some of these trolls, literally, they know everything, every detail. It doesn't matter what the subject is. They'll know all about it. They'll have every single get out of every single argument that you have, the heliocentric explanation at the wazoo. And when you do get them to a point, if you know how to get out of their heliocentric explanation, which Antonio is an absolute dab hand at, they don't have that kathunk moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
The
agree. Yeah, just listen to this Russian thing. Sorry, I've got to say, it says he's having an interview with the Russian thing, and he says our department commented on posts. Every city and village in Russia has its own municipal website with its own comments forum. So people would write something on the forum, some kind of news, and our task would be to comment on it. We did it by dividing into 3. One of us would be the villain, the person who disagrees with the forum and criticizes the authorities, in order to bring a feeling of authenticity to what we're doing. And the other 2 would enter the debate with, oh, no, you're not right, and everything here is totally correct. So, yeah, they run it in teams of the villain, the good guy, good cop, bad cop, that sort of thing. So, yeah, a bit sophisticated for that, I think.
It's amazing how easily groupthink works on people. You're in a room, there's 25 people, and a guy falls off a ladder. Somebody laughs, everybody laughs. Somebody goes, "Oh my God, you okay?" Everybody reacts the same way, because in situations, where people don't know the answer, they will follow the first thing that happens a lot of the time.
It also says, sorry. David, it just seemed like forever since you started talking.
Yeah, thanks. Good one.
I heard that yesterday on Sarah Silverman program. I thought I'm going to use that on David. It also shows how totally disorganized we are, the flat earthers. We haven't sat together and said, right, let's all go here and troll this.
Oh no, that's not true.
Actually, we have.
We have.
Yes, we have. We've done truth bombs. We just told everybody to unsub from Jeranism and Globebusters.
I troll the ISS feed.
Not to mention,
pretty much.
We've got internal fighting that seems to be structured. This is the weirdest one. So we've got Andrea Sensi making a manifesto to bring down the top brass flat earthers. It goes bonkers.
Yeah, and there's a concerted effort, which reminds me of what Crow was saying in his podcast, to thumbs down videos crazily. And Crow was mentioning himself. Of course, he gets a lot more views and thumbs up than most anybody because he's got a huge channel. But he was saying that the thumbs down were surpassing the thumbs up on information that he was putting out recently. And it is crazy because it's usually starts off with a little more on the thumbs up side, and then I wake up in the morning to videos and it's like triple the size on thumbs down. And I know people have 15, 20 channels to one person in this group of people who have a concerted desire that they put together to do this. But I don't think that really achieves what they want. They're giving videos views, number one. And when I see a video that's got a lot of thumbs down, I'm intrigued. What is this? I want to see. What could be so bad here? So I get a lot of people that I know, or that I kind of know, making comments in my videos saying, "What's with all the thumbs down? I listened to the whole show. There's nothing here that you said that was weird or odd." And, a lot of people get what's happening. But it comes in waves where we have this concerted effort by flat earthers against flat earthers, and then it dissipates, and then a new one kicks off. So, and Crow is experiencing that too.
And what I'm thinking is, I'm going to stick by my point and defend it to the death. We are not very organized. Look at the Globelings. They've got teams of 3s and all of this. One of them is an apologist, and the other 2 are. We don't have that. Okay, so I have gone on the ISS live stream with GeoShifter and laughed a bit and stuff, but it's not like it's spontaneous. That doesn't call to organization. Ow, I've just been bitten by a cat.
That cat is a blogger.
He's trolling him.
So that happens. It's not. What I'm saying is, yeah, we might have spurts of activity. But she's biting me. But in terms of like coordination and all of that, no, not like these.
There's a lot of flat earthers out there that are just doing their own thing, like Stinky Cash. He's popping out videos. Is he talking? Does he even associate with anybody, or is he on his own? There's lots of people that are just doing their own thing, keeping keeping to themselves, and a lot of us try to collaborate, and stuff happens.
Yeah, Stinky Cash, I noticed, had been putting out a few videos. He sort of disappeared off the scene for a while, and then he came back. Mig Mag, you've been putting out a lot of great videos lately.
Yeah, I've been trying to put out 2 or 3 videos per week. Yeah, been having a bit of fun.
Well, for those who aren't subscribed to your channel, MAG, it's in the description box, as are links to everybody here except Antonio. No. Tell everyone what the concept of your channel is, and if you would, the name Migmag. What does that mean?
Well, the name I just use it for gaming when I used to game before Flat Earth, and I just use it.
Same as the Morgile.
Again.
His name was
Yeah.
the Morgile's name was a gaming name too.
All right.
Hmm.
Yeah, and from my channel, I just want to make fun videos that fun for me. Videos about NASA, old videos, new videos, stuff I find funny about them, and other stuff also related to health, chemtrails. Yeah.
I do want to talk
What
with
else?
you about health as we go forward, because I usually have a component of that in every one of these Secret Hangout shows, because all of us here are concerned with that sort of thing. I saw Ian on your Facebook posting something about Rick Simpson cannabis oil, so this kind of thing we'll
Yeah,
get to a little bit later on.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So your videos, Migmag, are really good, and I've been sharing them lately, and I'm really
Thanks.
pleased that you came on. And I don't know a lot about you, and I don't think a lot of people do, so I thought it would be great that we could meet you. So, hey, welcome.
Like, do you have a girlfriend?
Are
Yeah.
you asking?
And she's not a Flat Earther.
Oh, she's not.
Ooh, ouch.
How does that work?
Oh dear, you're in
Well-
you're in my territory now, mate. That's horrible.
Yeah, but she doesn't put really a fight against it, you know.
That's good.
She's at the point that she just tells me, what does it matter? And then I try to tell her, but I know I can't force it too much on her because she's gonna shut down.
Yeah. Well, the Flat Earth asshole, we've all seen the video where he said he had to end his relationship because Flat Earth became too much of a pressure. And I don't know what's happened to him now. Haven't kept up with the latest, if there's any new developments, new girlfriends, or they got back together. But Ian, you mentioned, oh no, you're in my territory. Tell us a bit about
Well,
what you
I'm
struggle with.
married a long time now. I mean, we're nearly married for 20 years, and she's always known I've been a bit of a nutcase anyway. But this subject, like more than anything else, as we all know, there's no point just describing it. But when you Mark said, remember Mark Sargent says you don't talk about it. Well, first, after about half an hour of it sinking in, I ran into the kitchen and went, listen, I've got to talk to you. I made the biggest mistake ever. And she went, what the what are you talking about? Get on with yourself,
Midlife
It's been a
crisis.
bit like that. It's been a bit like that for 18 months now. So it's very difficult. It's really difficult. And I find myself having to not speak about it because, I mean, it's not that you can't not leave it for a couple of days and then talk about it. No, it's every single day. It's part of your life. It's like it's something you have to do every day, is to do Flat Earth stuff, and you can't. I find myself pulling back of it because I don't want to upset her anymore. It's crazy.
Do you see when you watch, say, Universal Pictures? You go to the cinema, you see a movie or something, and they start off, and there's the globe. Do you go globe?
I really try not to. I really
do.
try not to do anything like that.
It's hard.
But
It's
you
hard
do. You
not to.
can't help it, can you?
Yeah.
Right.
Globe.
it's
That's
everywhere.
fake. That's That's not real. This
have
is all
you-
made up. Look at that.
Have you tried with a different approach, like to go into other conspiracies to see what her reaction? Or
No, she's
Ian,
a mum of
good-
our 3 daughters, and
A good thing to do is set her homepage to deepinsidetherabbithole.com, and then she'll be seeing it every day.
Shameless plug.
I'm
Yeah,
not sure if I
shameless
should
plug.
just pack now and leave or not. If I do that.
Yeah, well, like Migmag might have been alluding to, something like chemtrails. I mean, that's a good opener. Get your foot in the door, because you can actually go outside and say, look, what is that?
Contrails,
I
you're
mean-
crazy.
Yeah, right.
See, She's okay. I mean, she knows, she accepts it, but you just have to. I think if I'd have done it slowly in the first place, if you don't, once you first get into this, you have such a rush of information, such a rush of truth or whatever it is you have a rush of, and you want to tell the whole world about it. And I think you don't really have time to settle to think about it logically about how you're going to approach it. So I wish I had it.
When I get somebody that asks a question, and it has some intelligent back and forths, and I can see that they're going in and that they're getting it, I say, whatever you do, don't tell anybody. Wait 2 weeks. You need to keep researching, because you're going to tell someone, they're going to barrage you with questions that you can't answer. I go, so just wait. Nobody waits. Everybody tells, and then they tell me horrible stories about what happened.
I think
what you should do, David, is you should say to people, look, if you're going to start looking at this, what you should do is tell people immediately. That's the opposite.
I think we might have stumbled on quite an interesting problem, though, because I've certainly experienced a similar thing with my own wife, and she mods my chats. She knows all the flat Earth arguments. She understands them completely. And if asked, she'll say, I like the globe. And I kind of always boil that down to her realising that if she was to go into work tomorrow and declare that she was a flat earther, she would be ostracised from work. She'd have a much more difficult life. So life is easier on the globe. And it seems to be that it's more often the women that will take this approach. They know that out in society, you're considered nuts if you're a flat earther. Now, that hasn't changed. That's still very much the case. So until that does, women who are going to... Maybe I shouldn't generalise women in this way, but I'm going to say they're going to be more concerned with, their nest, their general social, comfort level more than men. And maybe that's an overgeneralisation, maybe it's not, but that's just my personal view from seeing lots and lots of women who will listen to the arguments, totally understand the arguments, but then say, I'm still not going to accept it.
Yeah, but this is some of the crazy stuff. It's like when they hear all the arguments, they look at both sides and they say, I'm still going to vaccinate my child. By the way,
we didn't do that. We didn't do the vaccination thing.
And that's good.
But what David said about Crow 777 is so cool, because when people, we've all been through this. This is one of the things that gives us this sense of brotherhood and sisterhood, or girlfriendlyhood. But which is that. This is kind of passion to it. You come across a flat earth and say, oh my God, and you're passionate. Well, Crow 777 is a really bright guy who's been doing loads of stuff, and he's just coming to the flat earth now. So having already got a following, he's now a flat earther, and he's saying,
he's a non-spinning ball earther.
Well, he doesn't call himself a flat earther because he doesn't like titles. He's a freaking flat earther.
He knows.
Yeah.
No, he has. He's declared it. He said the most accurate way that I would describe Earth is to take the word planet and remove the T. Well, that's pretty much calling yourself a flat earther as far as I'm concerned.
It is. It is. Yeah. But what I'm saying is that he's new to it, so he has that passion. NASA lied to us, and this and this, and all of these things for which he will have had open-ended questions throughout his life. Now he's getting answers to them. So, and he's very well, he has very wide vocabulary, something I lack. So he can reach lots of people and explain things very well. And it's cool for somebody like that to see that the Earth is flat, that these phases shouldn't be happening, the various different things. I think it's really good.
He did exactly this on one of his recent videos where he was sort of pulling apart the no trees on flat Earth thing, and he was just filming a tree being taken to pieces and chatting away with the tree surgeon. That was basically the essence of the video. But in that video, he explained pretty much what Antonio's just said about how he's come to conspiracies, how he never really looked at things in the same way as other people. He never took things at face value. So, like Antonio says, when you see him with this sort of passion and just experiencing this sort of level of trolling, it is heartwarming. I hate to say that because it's obviously a nasty experience, but I got the same feeling when I went after or had a real go at the guy who calls himself Spaceman. I remember the comments, the amount of people that were like, "This guy's trolled me to all hell. Oh, I know this guy. I hate him." The amount of people that I knew as commenters that were making flat Earth videos that had been trolled by this one individual, and they all kind of united to say, yeah, good on you, great, you suck it to him, thank you. It's like, not that I enjoyed doing it, but it was just interesting to see how many people are united through trolling.
Yes, you do enjoy it. And you know it.
You're right, I do.
I think you both enjoy it a little bit too much sometimes. But in his latest podcast, Crow 777 was saying that the Woodstock was a way to distract from the moon landing, and was talking about Jimi Hendrix, who was the biggest artist around at the time. Hardly had any people watching him live, and then when you look at the footage, there wasn't much of a crowd. And it's really an intriguing thing I never really thought of before, that, Woodstock kind of be a hoax in some sort of way. Wasn't what it was presented to us as, because none of us were there. So to distract from the fake moon landing.
Well,
and David, you've heard the whole Crow podcast.
Yes, so I had to step away for a second. You're talking about Woodstock there. We're talking about Jimi Hendrix, where people were leaving. There was only a very small crowd there, but what they showed us on TV was this mass crowd. And one of the best amateur clips I saw was, have you guys seen it, where the people are leaving during the rain and this kid is screaming about cloud seeding, that he saw them up there. Just put Google and YouTube clouds, what's the name? Woodstock cloud seeding guy, whatever, and it's a great clip.
What's cloud seeding? What do you mean?
Cloud seeding is like chemtrailing. They made it rain. They seeded the clouds and they purposely rained it out for whatever reason. It's part of whatever the mind programming. If you look at what's the book about all of the singers? God, I'm spacing out. Whatever, it'll come to me in a second.
Spacing out. Think about that terminology.
Yeah, I'm flat.
You're flatting out.
Going into a realm of
in the canyon. Something funny happened in the canyon or whatever. It's all about that. The Doors, the Beatles, the all of these groups were, these were children of people in the government. That they were created to mold society. We see women screaming at the Beatles. Well, that never happened before the Beatles. And what they did is they sent just a couple of trolls to the Beatles to start screaming, and now all these women scream for the Beatles. They started this mass hysteria, and they're really manipulating the way people think and feel.
I remember seeing those kind of films when I was younger, and was thinking at the time about musicians I liked, and would say to myself, people were really, really crazy back then, because that doesn't happen now. I never went to a concert when young and was screaming like a maniac, but it makes sense if that was all manipulated. And was
they were doing
Elvis
it with Elvis as well, don't forget.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What would be the reason, though, for Elvis? Same thing? Just to distract?
I think they were afraid of rock and roll. I think they were afraid of music. I think music was changing and it was becoming more accessible, and I think people started to buy records, and I think genuinely women and everybody started to worship these things. Life was good for most people in the 60s. These bands came along, it was new, rock and roll was great, and there was something that they could escape to. So I think it did cause its own mass hysteria, but I'm quite sure for a fact it was led and steered in some direction for whatever reason. Yeah.
I think they use it as a weapon.
Yes.
Along with the hippie movement and LSD and.
Yeah.
Well, no matter what happens.
The same with the detuning, the conspiracy to detune the music. I mean, at what point did that happen? I don't know when that happened, and I've seen the thing, I'm sure, but.
Music, but also manipulates the way people view relationships. I mean, you've got there's a great example that somebody did. It was actually in reference to Psychopaths, but they used a song called "Grenade" by, I think it's Bruno Mars. Yeah. Could be wrong. But this song is about a toxic relationship, and he's essentially singing about, I would catch a grenade for you, I'd throw my hand on a blade for you, but I'd do anything for you. And he's singing about a toxic woman, a really evil, horrible person that he'd do anything for. Now, you sing along, it's a nice enough tune, it's really catchy, but what it's literally doing is programming you into accepting toxic relationships. Yes. The same thing happened on a show called The Middle. So there's these young kids, they're in adolescence, and the oldest kid's going to university or college. And his girlfriend's saying, I want an open relationship. I want to go with other guys and just be carefree. and he agrees and says, yeah, that sounds like the best thing for me. It was just horrible to listen to, but it was played with nice string music like it was the best thing in the world. That these two teenagers wanted to basically go around and shag everyone else. It's like, this is a disgusting way to present relationships to people, but in American media that's perfectly acceptable and even praised.
With the Bruno Mars song, don't forget that the rest of the song is saying, but you won't do the same for me. You wouldn't do the same.
Precisely. So he's saying, you're a toxic woman who couldn't give a toss about me, yet I will catch a grenade for you.
Yeah.
Wow. As for the open relationship...
I just remembered the book. It's Dave McGowan, Weird Scenes Inside the Canyon. It's about Laurel Canyon, where all of the major bands popped up, connected to military and CIA, and it's mind-blowing if anyone wants to check it out.
Let's not forget that Jim Morrison's father was a Rear Admiral in the Gulf of Tonkin incident.
Everything's connected. Really creepy when you start thinking about it. How much of what we assume to be things that just happen, that's how life is, have all been manufactured to mold us.
No, we are just waking up from this horrible reality that's been going on for centuries. And we're lucky enough through something like Flat Earth to go, well, hold on a minute, let's connect some more dots, and wow, yeah, it really is a manufactured reality, and wow, aren't we lucky? I feel really lucky that we can see the manufactured reality in such good detail now.
Yeah.
I noticed in the past maybe 10 years or so, the relationships where what used to be called swingers, couples that were swingers, it's now a thing. It's not like that. It's an open relationship, and it's on dating sites. It's listed as an option. You could pick if you want to do this. It's accepted. It's the norm. And I remember trying to date, I guess, back in the early 2000s. Didn't work out, but well, obviously so. And people were saying, "Oh, you're not interested in an open relationship?" And I'm like, God, I almost wanted to say, no, gross. Now, people are and they're happy maybe, but deep in my heart, I don't really think anybody can really be happy with that. Or have I been programmed to think that having one spouse is the way to go? Or are we being programmed now to think that having multiple partners is better? What does everyone here think?
They've been doing this for a while to try to get us into a situation that we don't want a family. They want to separate us from the family values.
Right, they're trying to break that up, but I think we can all agree one spouse is enough, boys. Ian, Nathan.
Yeah, for sure.
Was there an abrupt change? I'm sure I remember, it's before my time, but I remember them punting the nuclear family.
Yeah, this was the terminology used for the 2.4 children. This was what they were referring to, the family.
Nuclear,
the
too.
Nuclear unit, okay? It was all based around the kitchen, and it went out from there with the mother and father, and it was a way of dehumanizing the family. They could have just said, the family, but they didn't. The nuclear family. So it was like detaching your associations to what family is. Excuse me. To wrap up what you were asking before, Ian, it was the late 20s and early 30s.
Oh, yeah.
So the late 30s that they changed the harmonic frequency. But the whole thing about the family unit, I don't know if anybody here is familiar with the Soviet, the Stalin thing, the Russian manifesto, how to win the war against the non-communists, and how Stalin ordered a program to be written that was foolproof, a foolproof way of winning. And these academics and geniuses from the Soviet Union went off, bearing in mind this is for Stalin, so if they fail, God knows what's going to happen to them. But they came back.
I bet the manifesto was about one paragraph long, wasn't it? It just said, go that way and kill everybody.
No, actually, it said, first of all, lose the battle. That's how you infiltrate. Wow. But it was saying...
Sorry, say that. What do you mean? That's interesting.
Yeah, lose. It says this in The Art of War. If you can't beat your enemy, then you lose to them. You surrender. You win. Then you infiltrate. Then you make your way to the leadership. Then you direct it, and you form it into your army. But what the conclusion was, you need to destroy these things. These things are integral to a well-rounded, strong person who will have an attachment to his family, his society, his community, and this has this problem where people can't be easily manipulated. So you need to destroy beauty, the concept of beauty. You need to destroy the concept of love. You need to destroy the concept of truth. And one of the ways to do this is through art. So make ugly things beautiful. The reason for this was to destroy the family, to make everything destabilized. Then people will turn to their government for support.
You got any specific examples, Antonio, of things that are ugly being made to seem beautiful by the media?
Well, one of the things, Lady Gaga, for instance, makeup. A lot of makeup, then lots of people look, they see this made-up person, the tweaking that we've seen through Photoshop to unhuman proportions of models, and this veers your idea, your opinion of what's beautiful to what's presented to you, which is unrealistic, and then this, once you've removed from realism, from the real world, this can then be veered towards the ugly, the hideous, being beautiful. So you have the Turner Prize going to a bucket of maggots that's been grown in aborted fetuses, okay? Because this is such a beautiful representation of society and all of these things. It's a way of corrupting the human will. So you have to make people weak, and to do this, you have to destroy truth, beauty, and love. This is what you have to do. Otherwise, you can't win. So
make them dependent.
Yeah.
So like the art of Cindy Sherman and things like that were happening in the 80s, or the art which was a woman with a speculum in her uterus, and people were invited to come and view it, and that was considered to be art. All of this.
The glorification of Honey Boo Boo.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right.
Or the sexualization of Betty Boop. Those things, these distorting things that are aimed to mold people from a young age. Also, the artist Tracy Emin in the UK with the unmade bed, which is not just an unmade bed, it's a dirty unmade bed.
So we have art like right over there, is what you're trying to say.
It's not dirty, but it's unmade. But yeah, so the different tools to use on a nation, on a group, and this is what the McCarthy era in the US was so paranoid about. This is why they were going after Hollywood actors, playwrights, because these people could mold popular opinion. And they thought, if we can control these guys and stop them from corrupting the ideals of the family unit, of the upstanding member of society, if we can stop that if we can stop the Soviet idea, which is corrupt the family, corrupt society through these avenues, then we are more formidable against the Soviets. But they didn't win.
Well, maybe that's why people like Crow 777, as he had said in his recent podcast, is trolled so hard, and other people that are higher up in the flat Earth are trolled so hard. It's that effort to control that you were talking about, something like that. Well, somebody that a lot of us flat earthers who are former investigators into 9/11 before we figured out what that was all about, before we found flat Earth, we all are familiar with is Dr. Judy Wood. And recently, Dr. Judy Wood and David Weiss have been engaged in a conversation. And David, can you tell us how that's going?
You know, I'm a big supporter of hers, and I get a lot of trolls on me for that, because she really, puts out evidence and doesn't speculate, although everyone twists her work. But she had commented on my 9/11 directed energy page, and she started texting me via Skype, and she didn't like the original image I had up there, which I agreed with her that, you know what, it gives the wrong message, and I changed the image. I actually asked her for an image, but she ignored me. But we were going back and forth, and she said that, you flat earthers, and she started saying, you all, you all think this, and you don't do any experiments. And I said, well, you don't know, that's like saying all you 9/11, seekers are all in one boat. She accused me of being a victim of groupthink, because she looked at my website and said, you can't, all those things can't be real, and I said, have you looked into any one of them that, which one is not real? But she wouldn't look. So I kept inviting her. I'm trying to get her to have a offline or online, live or private Skype session with myself and Jaron or somebody. I said, allow us to show you the experiments, because every proof that she threw at me in this text, and this is a problem, people that engage me via text and they won't have a verbal conversation even though I offer.
Like wearing a mask.
Yeah, so, she's like, after a very long conversation, or fairly long conversation, she's like, I have to get ready.
My time is important.
Yeah, she goes, my time's important. I have to get ready for an interview. And I said, well, my time's important too. And I watched her interview, and it was a couple of hacks. They weren't really going down any really good road for her. And all of a sudden, she got disconnected. I think she hung up. And she just disappeared. That seems to be something that she might do. She may have been disconnected. I don't know. But I just can't get her. She'll spend an hour or 2 hours sometimes with me over the last couple of years texting about it. But she won't. Her time's important. I was like, just give me 30 minutes, talking. Let me share my screen with you. Let me show you a couple things. And then I finally said, my final words to her was, if you're half as smart as I think you are, you already know the Earth is flat. And for some reason, I'm not going to speculate as to why. I mean, I could speculate, but I'm not going to pick one. That you can't talk about it. Either you're told not to talk about it, or you don't want to, people already think you're crazy and you don't want to add that on. Or another reason, I don't know. But, she's a person of evidence. Either I'm going to lean towards she's just never looked into it, and she's a victim of groupthink. Like, Andrew Johnson will say to her, you can hold up a piece of string and you can see the curve on the ocean, and she's like, yeah, and doesn't check, it makes perfect sense, and even if
wouldn't
you can,
you say
good.
The same as most people. In other words, if you assume that you've already looked into this, so most people are under the assumption that they've already checked out the heliocentric model. It's already been investigated, and we're brainwashed into believing that there's nothing to see here. So most people's reaction is to say, I have investigated this. I know my heliocentric science. I know we're on a globe. Further to that, what you were taught in school is that the flat Earth is nonsense, and that really stays with you.
And the smarter you are, the harder it might be to see it. The flat Earth, her thing is 9/11 was the suppression of free energy technology. That's her big thing. And I agree with that, but that I say that is directly tied to flat Earth, because if free energy technology became available to everybody, immediately people will be building aircraft that can fly forever, and
water.
Or whatever. You got an aircraft that doesn't need fuel. Well, hey, let's hop in this thing. We don't even need supplies. We just need some food, and we can fly over, any way we want for as far as we want, and that's what they don't want. That's why, they don't allow you to, have fuel near Antarctica, or they just don't allow any expeditions into Antarctica, and they make it look like it's just impossible. But free energy technology is directly tied to keeping flat Earth a secret.
Well, there's people that
Yeah,
are
I agree.
proponents of free energy technology who want that to get out to the masses and feel that flat Earth is a distraction from it, like somebody that you and I both have had conversations with, a man named Theobald, David, who I'm speaking of, and the Garvey Free Energy Program that he's a promoter of. He thinks that flat Earth is a distraction from it all.
Did I tell you I've been recently speaking with Theobald?
Yeah, I have as well.
And I basically told him, I said, you know what? I believe that you are onto something, but I have no way of deciphering it. The way you present yourself, the way it's unfollowable. Followable, is that a word? And then I offered to have a conversation with him to help him produce a 10-minute video that explains what he wants to do. That's all he needs is a 10-minute preview to get you come to his 2-hour seminar or whatever it is, 2-hour video. Because I can't follow his work. The title of his videos, the title scares me away.
It has like 20 hashtags in it sometimes.
It's 20 words strung together. I don't know where one word starts and the next. And I think the guy has some information, but he's scattered at presenting it. Again, I offered to help him, and he hasn't reached out again.
Right.
That's what makes me suspicious. Like Dr. Wood, I spoke with her for 6 hours on the phone before I was a flat earther. Now that we've had hours and hours of texting, and she won't have a conversation. That is a red flag.
David, do you think, because I'm looking at her page, and one of the first things on her page is Star Wars directed energy weapons. Do you think she's still of the reason why she perhaps won't?
Wait, what page are you looking at?
She literally thinks it's Star Wars and satellites going.
What page are you looking at?
Directed energy weapons. It says.
On my website.
Her page.
On her page.
No. JudyWood.com, and which is quite good. I mean, she goes in there about directed energy weapons, molecular dissociation, the Hutchison effect, and everything. And I'm thinking, really? And she won't look at flat Earth. But the first thing on there, when you go down, is Star Wars directed energy weapons. I wonder if it's programmed in her mind that Star Wars thing, it's out in space, it's on satellites, that sort of thing.
I don't want to say controlled opposition, but
don't say it.
There's an awful lot. There's a lot of things that. I suppose you've got to show your hand a bit, haven't you? But she's got a lot of stuff there, which.
Her presentations are good. People say that she's controlled opposition. I don't see it, but the fact that she won't have this conversation is troubling to me. I think that I'm not going to let up. She disappears though. I get her to the point where I've come back with every argument she has, and then ask again and again for let's just talk. Set up a time. We can do it now. We can do it whenever you want. And then she just disappears and she ignores me. I know she's seeing my text, so I leave her alone. I give her a little space.
David, how many times did you ask her for a GIF to have in place of the image that she was objecting to for the?
So William Gensky, amazing web designer who did DeepInsideTheRabbitHole.com, shameless plug. He selected all of the art images, and for her, the top image for her page, he had a picture of a laser beam shooting out of looked like an observatory from Earth. And my initial reaction was, oh, that's not good. That's not correct. But then I said, wait a minute. Because she's always associated by the trolls, oh, she believes in space lasers. She's never said space lasers. It never even said that they're in space. Everyone just assumed. So I second-guessed myself. I said, well, if that's from the Earth, it is a beam of directed energy, and I decided to leave it. She saw it, didn't like it. I immediately agreed, and I told her my thinking, and I said, can you supply me with a high-res image that you think would be best for your page? You read it, Antonio. How many times did I ask her? 4 or 5?
Four times. Some of the times it was within a series of comments back and forth, but some of the times it was just you asking the one thing, which is, can you please pass me a GIF that you think will serve?
Or just direct me to an image that you wanted. She ignored me. I found an image on her website. I put the link in chat a minute ago. I'll put it in again. Which is an illustration of the Hutchison effect, and I love it. I think that she likes it too, but she's a strange one.
I would hope we would all be on the same side. That would be tremendous.
Here's the thing.
I'm just seeing on her website again. Hold on, David. It just says, it says on her website as well, she says she actually puts on one of the bars, the scientific method. And she says, gather observation evidence, make hypothesis, do experiments, publish, repeat cycle, etc. And I'm thinking, she's not showing much, scientific method to the flat Earth.
How when there's two people fighting and accusing people of other things, it's usually the accuser that's guilty of what they're doing. I'm seeing that all the time now, in issues where people are accusing other people. It's actually them. She's doing the groupthink. She's not looking at the evidence, and I said to her, of all people, I said, on 9/11, everyone saw the towers disappear and they only could say collapse, but you had to show people that they didn't collapse. We just had no other word for it. And I said, let me show you about the earth that we live on, and she has not accepted yet, which is troubling. Speaking of that, we can pivot to another truther out there. Patricia, you want to?
David Icke is what you were going to bring up, maybe?
Oh, no, well, David Icke, whatever you want. You lead the show. I was going to go with an unnamed news source.
Yeah, you can go ahead with that. Start, and then we'll move on to David Icke. And then Hillary. Where is Hillary?
A YouTuber, which I kind of liked. He puts out some great stuff. He puts some great images together. He shows, the image of the whale jumping out of the floor in an auditorium in front of kids at the same time of the airplane going into the towers, showing that this is the same technology or similar, trickery. And he's put out a lot of good stuff, but then he goes off on, aliens and, Zika, Zika's going to kill us. And he liked he messaged me saying that my Hillary video, which we can talk about in a minute, was really good, that I'm onto something. And then he said that he liked a couple other things, and that he was looking into the flat Earth. I really had him thinking. And then he said, well, it's all, ODD's 21 questions. They're good, but they all have issues. And I said, okay, let's have a conversation. Again, same thing with Dr. Wood. Let's have a conversation. Let's have a reasonable conversation. And he's like, well, this, and then he sends me a dumb video from what's that guy that we all hate on Flat Earth that just does those?
Rhetoric.
No, the mainstream guy.
Yeah,
I forget
with the
his name.
Google
Weird
eyes.
Yeah, Vsauce. He sends me like a Vsauce video, and I said, you know what? I said let me address that with you verbally. When would you like to talk? We could schedule something and have a reasonable conversation. And then he throws another one at me. I said, I'm not going to do this. When can we schedule? I asked him 10 times, when can we schedule something? And then he accused me of never wanting to talk. And Tony, I don't even remember what it said. You read it. And then I just screamed at him. I said, I said, listen, you're not so smart. Whenever you watch this, and I sent him one of Jaron's videos, and then let's talk about it. And he really pissed me off. And then I screamed at him. I just said, I'm not effing gonna do this. Whenever you're ready to have a real conversation. Again, this is something that's a problem with people, or a problem, a sign of a shill.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like calling people
shills
or
I don't agree.
gatekeepers.
I just don't agree, David. I mean,
agree with what?
About how strong the program is. You even talk yourself about how you came to Flat Earth and how you were dead against it. You were banning people's comments.
Hang on, Nathan. You didn't hear what I said. You didn't hear what I said. I said it's a problem with that people suffer from, or maybe it's a symptom of a shill. I'm leaning towards it's just a problem that people have. They're so programmed they can't look, and they realize if they have a conversation, with me, I'm sorry, but I'm going to show them something that they're not ready to deal with.
Yeah, exactly.
And so then he goes, "This is war," and he made this video about me.
Tell us who this person is, because I'm sure in chat.
It's Stranger Than Fiction News. He calls himself Ron Johnson. Again, he's a loner. Nobody knows who he is. Nobody knows what his name is. He's in Belgium or somewhere. Nobody knows where he is. And he's accusing me of being a gatekeeper, and he's saying that my Hillary thing is all wrong, even though he said it was right. It's just insanity. So he said that I threatened him. I've been goading him into a confrontation. So. Yes. when somebody slanders me like that, I
You're
basically
such
made
a bully,
post.
David.
Yeah, I'm sorry for talking so long. I made a post. I posted the entire transcript of the conversation. I thought I made a pretty good meme also, with him proving the flat Earth with the shot of the globe Earth from ground level. And it's on Ball Earth Skeptic, or it's on Patricia's page if you want to see it. It's kind of funny. So that's it. Sorry for ranting.
You just released a video about flat Earth.
This morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one about me.
Oh, okay.
Watch it. It's hysterical.
I'll put it in the description box. Maybe I shouldn't, because maybe we don't want to give it a view. I don't know.
People can go find it. It's on Ball Earth Skeptic Facebook page. It's on Patricia's Facebook page, and that's it. So he wants to have a war. It's over. I put out my information. I'm done. People know, and he's just going to discredit himself, and that's it. It'll fade into nothingness.
Eventually, all of these people, Dr. Judy Wood, that guy you just spoke of, and others, are going to come around, because flat Earth, or whatever shape this is of the plane, is truth. So accept it now, or you'll accept it later.
Ooh,
Could I just add one more point before we move on from this troll thing? Because there's another type of troll. I'm sure we've touched on this a little bit, but the type of troll who accepts exactly what you've just said. You know, find out the Earth is flat. Eventually, you're going to anyway. There's people that go, okay, yeah, it is flat. I completely understand that. But Patricia Steer, she's a CIA agent, and Antonio Subrats, he worships the devil, and Nathan Oakley, he's a psychopath. These nutters in the flat Earth, where do they come from? Where do they fit into the troll scheme?
It's because YouTube is so accessible. You know, people can make videos and upload them really easily. And unfortunately, we do have a ridiculous number of crazy people in the world.
Mental health issues abound in the world, and then we just see that slice reflected within the flat Earth.
I don't think it's mental health. I just think it's insecurity. People are having their concept of the world stripped out from underneath them, and they're going to blame the people that are waking them up. You know, it's the person that tells you, then that person, you know, something that you're not ready to handle, then you lash out at that person. Patricia, you're waking people up. I'm waking people up. Nathan, you're waking people up. Antonio.
I was going to say.
But when it's flat earthers,
then
there may be issues, mental health issues.
But what is a flat earther? There's flat earthers out there that don't get it. They think the Earth is flat, but for a lot of weird reasons. But the truth is, there's thousands of flat Earth proofs. One of them is enough to be a flat earther, just one. But some people have one and 40 others that are not. You're still a flat earther, but you're out there spewing garbage. You know, and we don't even have it all right. Go ahead, sorry.
No, sorry, David. You're right about that one thing, and I always try and use curvature because it's the simplest to do, I think. That, the moonlight test, and the fact that the stars, you know, stay around us for billions of years. How's that possible? So those are my three things I always go to. But curvature, it's like I said it before, and it's like the pre-programming of if you use curvature, if we use curvature and start going the 8 inches per mile squared, it's like a programmed stock response. Anyone who's been on an aeroplane, I've seen it at 35,000 feet, and that's good enough for them. That's good enough for them. They've never seen it. They've never looked out the window intentionally and said, "Oh, there's the curvature."
But people do it all the time.
It's a conditioned response. It's a conditioned response, I think. But every time we bring up the curvature, as I've seen that, so they kill that argument straight away in their own mind. It's just crazy.
But people see curvature from the airplane. Forget the curved window. They're just looking out. And they're imagining a curve. I mean, if they're seeing the edge of light, that's a curved line, and then they say it's a ball. Even if it's not, they imagine it. It's like, and I was talking to Paige about this the other day. You know, when the full moon is rising, it's huge, right? The giant moon. You know, when you watch the full moon rise, it looks gigantic. 4 hours later, when it's above head, it's a quarter of the size, right? Why is that? Do you know? There's several reasons. One, our good friend Eric DeBay put out a video, talked about atmospheric lensing, and because you're seeing it through more atmosphere, it's blown up. That's part of the reason. But the other part is the way our brains work. And I want everybody to do this. The next time there's a full moon and it's gigantic on the horizon, I want you to hold your hand out, pick a finger, it's my little finger, that my fingertip will go right around the moon. I'll line it up at arm's length, and my little finger will block out the moon when it's gigantic. Then 10 minutes later, Nathan, 1 second, when it's not 10 minutes, 4 hours later, when it's above head and it's tiny, do the same thing, and it's still blocked out by the same finger, which shows that it's an illusion the way your brain is seeing it close to the horizon. Nathan?
And your neighbours will think that you've got some secret way of contacting the moon with your little finger. Yeah.
All I was going to do is just add 1 point to the plane thing, because it was something my auntie said to me. Well, I've seen the curve. I've seen it from a plane window, which is something we've just kind of covered. Nobody is seeing the curve. It doesn't matter if you live on the ball or not. If you're convinced, if you have a great belief that you live on a ball, you're still not seeing that curve at 35,000 feet.
That's
Nobody is. And that the heliocentrists will say that all day long. The ones that are educated in their model know that they can't see a curve at that altitude.
Yes, but John Q. Public can. I recently, when I flew here, I kind of tried to joke around with a pilot, and I said as I was going to my seat to come, I think from Atlanta to Manchester, so have you seen the curve of the Earth? I just said it to the pilot to see what he'd say, and he said, yeah, we have, but he said it in almost a cartoon way, a funny way, and I thought to myself, is he just sort of entertaining the crazy redhead? Like, oh, a passenger must be nice, customer's always right, or has he heard this enough times from a few flat earthers here and there that he is just maybe he'll wake up if one more person does it.
We have one that can see. That's what it is. I want to ask Mi'kmaq, what was it that made you see that the world is flat?
Yeah.
Well, I was trying to ignore the videos on YouTube for a while, and after I saw the Eric Dubay video, the 200 proofs, I had to check for myself with going to the lake and trying to see if stuff was disappearing over the curve, and that was the first shock treatment that I got. So after that, I just went on a rampage of videos.
Same thing. Did you feel that high at first, that flat earther high that we get when consuming lots of videos?
Yeah. And I had to talk about it immediately.
Yeah.
So it's a shock.
Yeah.
You have to talk about it.
I don't think it really ever wears off. It mellows a little bit. Yeah. Or you don't have to, just as you're paying for your groceries, tell the cashier, by the way, the Earth's flat.
Yes, this is something that bears mentioning to anybody who's watching this that might be relatively new to the flat Earth. It does mellow out. You might be engrossed in flat Earth where that's all you do when you have free time. It won't be like that forever. It will mellow out. Eventually 6 months, a year down the road, you'll find that you'll have select places you go to.
Nope.
It won't be so engrossing.
Yeah, because
it's gotten worse.
Not everyone.
Yeah, I have to disagree with that.
Yeah, Nate, I don't agree with that, Antonio. Maybe it's you.
Well,
yeah, it doesn't mellow. It doesn't get worse, because 12 months ago, when I was looking at videos, there was far less videos.
Yeah.
Now you can refresh your subscription list. I mean, I've probably got a couple of hundred channels, and every 10 minutes I can get a new flat Earth video to watch.
Sure.
Right.
Yes, but you're not losing as much sleep. You're not thinking, go to bed.
What, sleep?
Really, we sleep at sometimes 5 in the morning. And
Sleep,
I would say of the waking day that we've had today, aside from eating and taking a shower, it's been fully flat Earth. What have we done?
Hold on. You don't listen to things in the shower? What? That's a waste of time.
Yes, and I didn't even take a shower.
Yeah, he was too busy on a hangout. Yeah, I think, well, it does mellow out. You're not consumed with that crazy eyes wide open, just like, kind of feeling. That's where it mellows out.
Have you seen how many interviews I've done lately?
Yeah.
I can't stop.
You're the hardest working man in flat Earth.
I can't believe I've just heard what Patricia said. Sorry, David. You've just said every waking hour of my day has been spent on flat Earth. But trust me, it mellows.
David,
the mania.
Can I just ask you?
Yeah, please.
And maybe all
David,
it is.
can I just ask you? Do you?
Only if Antonio stops talking. Yeah,
Oh, sorry.
absolutely.
Well, that's what-
I do have a job, and I do my job. But every hour outside of that, I am very busy. And a lot of times when I'm doing my work, I can listen to a podcast in my ear, which I do quite often.
Wow.
Which he does at double speed. Ian, you were saying something.
Yeah, it was just about David, actually. I wanted to know, because I spend an awful lot of time doing Flat Earth, and I shouldn't, with wife and kids and everything. I wanted to know, I really want to be able to do this full time, because if I could, I would do this full time, all the time, because there's nothing been greater to me than this sort of revelation, as it were. So if I could do it full time, I would, but I can't because of my job. And I just wanted to know how you guys all do it, if you have jobs and etc. That's all.
Well, I'm poor, so
I'm poor by association. So.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, it's one of those things that, you know, this is the one thing that affects everybody. You know, I was listening to Mark Sargent's recent Strange World, where he called into some show. He's talking to a preacher, and this guy was totally on board with Flat Earth. You know,
Right.
but Mark was saying, you know, people in California, you know, when you talk about 9/11, they're like, yeah, you know, they're not as engaged as people that live right where I live, right near the city, even though it's 15 years later. But Flat Earth affects everybody every day. It's always under their feet, and it's one of those things that will not stop. I mean, no matter where you go, you're on the Flat Earth because you can't go into space.
So for Ian, I was going to say one avenue that you could yourself look into, especially if you can't talk to your wife, one avenue you could look into that might help with income, and I haven't done this, so I'm just I'm talking from somebody else's experience. I know somebody who's a public speaker who talks about alternative health, a whole bunch of alternative things. You could start a speaking tour.
I thought about it. I really
Yeah.
did. We're going to do this show at the radio station in Swanage, and we're getting training on the equipment and thing next week, I think. So
Yeah.
So we're going to do the show. We're going to do a flat. I've got to, because of Ofcom. Well, not because of Ofcom, because of the station manager. He doesn't want to just concentrate on Flat Earth. Can I bring other conspiracies into it? And I'm thinking, oh God, you know. So I'm going to do an A to Z of conspiracies with everything linking back into Flat Earth if I can. But yeah, public speaking is awesome. But where are you going to do that? Who are you going to do that to?
Yeah.
The Rotary Club in Swanage, funny enough, have asked.
No,
You know, I've said I'll go and do a speak for them.
it means a lot of traveling. It means a lot of traveling. You might not want to do it if you have young children, but we have to think long term, you know, and you have to pay your dues, whatever it is that you do. So I'm painting. You know, when I sell a painting, everything's great. The rest of the time is gnashing of teeth and pulling of hair, like Jeff Stewart.
You're very good, by the way, Anto. I saw your website. There's some good stuff in there. There's some dodgy stuff as well, but there's some really good stuff. I know. So I think you know you're good at what you do, mate.
The dodgy stuff is harder than the good stuff. He said.
So what about, sorry to interrupt then. So we've gone completely off track. What about this Hillary video?
Yes, we were going to discuss that with David, and also David Icke we mentioned as well. So, yeah, where is Hillary? Where is Waldo? Everyone's seen the green screen video of David?
Yeah, so a while ago I had noticed, along with some other researchers, that when Obama did his ISIS speech in the White House, he wasn't there. It was a complete and total CGI fakery. There's a whole bunch of videos that prove it. There was some glitches in it, and you know, it's a hard one for people to wrap their minds around, and people say, why would they do that? Why don't they just have him do the speech? And my answer was, I don't know. And now it makes sense that they can have people not in real scenes and make it look like real scenes, because I believe Hillary is very ill. She's having seizures. She's traveling in an ambulance now. You know, she instead of a black SUV, she's in a black ambulance. And she's wearing glasses that are meant for people that are seeing double vision, that are, you know, having seizures. And somebody, she in her last speech mentioned 9/11, that she was just hammering Trump, saying, you know, 9/11 inside job. You know, he was on Alex Jones, and he associates with people that say nobody died at Sandy Hook. You know, and just all of the stuff. So normally I wouldn't watch her speech, but I'm watching this speech, and something didn't look right. And the video I was watching basically showed when she started speaking to the very end, and then 10, 15 seconds pass, and that's it. And I didn't get anything before or after that. So I saw this video, and I said, wow, there's no crowd shots. The camera was moving. You know, like it was doing this a lot. She was wearing a completely monotone suit, and her hair was not frizzy at all. Perfect for a green screen. And people say, well, she's wearing green. It doesn't work with a green screen. Green screen is just, they use green because that's the color that people don't wear, Kelly green. Green screen could be orange, it could be yellow, whatever color they're not wearing. So she had the perfect outfit for a green screen. And I questioned whether, was she there? Was the audience there? You know, I didn't say that she wasn't there. But what I noticed was that people were holding up the cell phones at the end, filming her as she's walking out, and she wasn't on the cell phones. She wasn't on the screen. The background, the flags were not on the screen. It was completely clear, and I said, wow, that one phone there's a done deal. But then there's 3 other phones. The same thing that happened. But then people, you know, the hive mind went at it, and people came back and said that I'm a liar. You know, there is an audience, and they showed the beginning where there was an audience. But Barry Soetoro, the Barry Soetoro channel, he broke it down even farther. He showed that it was like they had a fake audience in the front, then there was a barrier, and that's the front, the two scenes, and they stitched them together. But at the beginning, people are holding their phones up, and there is a green blob that is supposed to be Hillary, and it kind of looks like it is her on those phones. Easily put in with After Effects, you know, but I think that there was a screw up, and the guy messed up on syncing up the phones on the back end. It doesn't matter what we saw at the beginning. It doesn't matter what happened in the middle. The fact that 3 phones tracked her and are clearly she is not on that phone shows that there is trickery.
What about the double Baphomet right in
front? Right, you're right at the beginning. Yeah, somebody goes right up in the front, double Baphomet.
Nobody would do that at a political convention.
Right.
Rock concert, yes, but it's just weird.
Could I hazard a guess as to why? You said I don't know why they would do this, but I've actually I had a hypothesis that Antonio knows about, because it was put to him earlier today by a guy I interviewed about a year ago called Jamie, whose channel was called Fake Clouds in Sky and Fake Spaceman in Space. And his explanation I thought was quite good. He said it was on a different topic about a different false flag / hoax, and Antonio's argument was such that there was a cover-up going on. There was a story that was trying to be suppressed with another story. And his argument was, well, if you just hoax the whole thing, it's completely in your control. So if, for the sake of argument, Hillary is severely ill, and you do just put it all together with green screen and composite images and fake crowds, if anything goes wrong, you've got complete control over it. You can do another take, you can do whatever you like. If you put her in front of a real audience, you can't. You've got one shot at getting it right. So in other words, by faking it, they have complete control over it. That would be the reason.
Absolutely.
And they've done this before, but not with a green screen. She was doing a speech, and they had the spectators all accumulated in one part of the view. So you would think that there's a lot of people.
Right. I once did a 7-Up commercial in Madison Square Garden. There was maybe 40 or 50 people, and it looked like the stadium was full when they were done. You know, it holds 40,000 people, and we did it with 40, you know, maybe 40, maybe 50 people. And it looked like a full stadium.
I can name a scene, sorry, just so people can see this in actuality. So in Forrest Gump, there's a scene where they have the great big the monument, and he walks across the water.
Yeah.
To meet whatever her name is. Do you know the scene I'm talking about?
Jenny at the Washington Monument.
So he's talking to thousands of people. He's got mics in front of him. He sees Jenny, climbs down, goes across the water through thousands of people. Well, it's done with about 25 people. They just repeat them over and over and over and over again, and the end effect is you've got this massive crowd. But there was hardly anybody there when they filmed that.
Same with Rocky, the original Rocky.
Right.
There were only about 20 people around the ring, but you can't tell in any of the fights this is not.
There is a Three Stooges video from like from the 40s or 50s or maybe it was the 60s or whatever, where they used this same background screen and 4-screen technology where it was a fight and they made the stadium look full. They could do it back then. That's they can do it now. People say they don't have the technology to do that, or for the Apollo missions. Now the technology is amazing. I put in the chat the link to a page that shows they have the face morphing, they have fake CGI image matrix it's called. I don't think that she was done with image matrix. I think that she was there, that she did it in multiple takes, because if Hillary has one more seizure or falls down, that's it, it's over, and they cannot risk it. So what's going to be very interesting is her next public appearance, because now that people are looking, the video is going pretty viral. David Icke picked it up. It's going a whole bunch of places picked it up, and it's mirrored in multiple languages. They're going to have a hard time pulling it off. What's going to happen? There should be a debate coming up soon. That's going to be fascinating.
So usually in the US you have the person running for president and vice president. Who's her vice president going to be?
I thought it was a guy named Kane. I don't even know. I have no idea.
This is what I'm thinking. All the Hillary voters might vote for Hillary. Straight away she passes away, and they have a president that's her running mate.
There's and I don't put any weight into this. I just find this fascinating. There's a movie. I'm trying to find the name of it if anybody knows, about during the 44th president, which is Obama. There's the election of the 45th president. That president isn't real. It's complete CGI, and I think that they're broadcasting from underground bases, and nobody ever sees the president in reality. It's just done through imagery. I don't know. Do I think that's going to happen? I have no idea what's going to happen. It's just amazing coincidence that there's a movie out about that.
Wow. Well, what they say about
Can I just say, doesn't...
Go
Sorry,
ahead.
Patricia.
No, go ahead.
Sorry about that. Doesn't Obama, or hasn't he written in some new legislation, or last year or whatever, to say that he can, in a state of emergency, doesn't he remain in power?
He can. He if there is a state of emergency, undefined, he can declare a state of emergency. He can suspend the election.
Yeah, I mean, surely isn't that what a lot of people think anyway? I mean, the church still think Obama's the Antichrist, and all that sort of nonsense. And there's a lot still going on. I mean, he might well be. I have no idea. But I think if they're going to do something big, if this thing is going to happen, whereby whatever you want to call it, fake alien invasion, anything, this would be a good time to do it, because she's going to die, I think, more than anything. Hillary Clinton's not going to be alive for much longer. There's only so many times that big black fella can stick an EpiPen in her leg, or whatever it is he's doing. So she's being nudged along just to get what? I mean, if she gets over the finish line,
to get us where?
What's the goal? Yeah, what's the goal? She's not going to do anything. I mean, so maybe Obama's going to do this thing now. I don't know.
Who knows?
Well, we've got September the 11th coming up, haven't we?
Yeah. And maybe Trump is just the distraction, and so is Hillary, and then, like people have been saying about Obama, but I just don't understand the end game. There's so many little things at play, and like all of this other talk that happened last year, around, what was it, September 23rd or so, when everyone was saying it was going to be Jade Helm and the world was going to change. That never happened. Maybe nothing will happen here.
Jade Helm.
Well, Jade Helm did happen.
Was a test run. Jade Helm was a test for artificial intelligence. They are doing all sorts of stuff to see how artificial intelligence will operate during a real event, during a military operation. So they had this whole thing, and it was run by AI. people, you guys must be getting calls from AI, sales calls, or they're trying to qualify you before a person gets on the phone. I mean, I have a lot of fun with them. I ask, are you AI? And they answer me, and it's pretty fun. You guys should try it.
Well, we have Siri on our phone. I mean, that's the start.
Yeah.
And Nathan's Siri is extra interactive. Makes suggestions.
My Siri seems to go off during shows, even after I've turned the phone off and stuff. It's really odd.
That is weird. Kind of frightening. You did touch on David Icke very briefly, David, and that ties into what we were just speaking of.
Which thing about David Icke? He picked up the article.
He picked up the article too, and the video, and put it on his site that you had created about Hillary, which was pretty cool. That's another person that David Icke has all that opportunity to step out and discover flat Earth, but yet has not done that. I believe we've been joined by Ace McLeod. Have we not?
Hello, how are you doing?
Hey, Ace, you were supposed to be here earlier. We're gonna put you in timeout now as a punishment.
That's all right. My bad.
Well, thank you for coming on. I didn't mention you in the intro because I thought you had forgot, but
That's all right.
You're here. We have plenty of time left to chat. So for those who don't know Ace McLeod, he's on YouTube all of the time. The channel is Ace McLeod. He's on lots of Hangouts, and he hosts a lot of Hangouts, and he pioneered something within Flat Earth, which is taking back the word shill by calling everybody a shill. So
right.
I think that's pretty interesting. So the first time you called me a shill, I actually blocked you from my channel. I'm like, I like this guy. He's really nice. Why did he call me a shill?
And I had to tell her that you'd called me a shill too. That obviously it wasn't that you were calling me. It was equivalent to you calling me nigger if we were black. You know,
geez.
And it's like, yeah, okay,
Right.
this is what he's doing. It's just taking the sting away from the word chill, because it was being used and it was causing damage. They tried it also with psyop and psyops.
Mm-hmm.
That's happening continually now, but people aren't really calling others shills as much anymore. And Ace, you started wiping that away. So try doing it with psyop now. Get rid of that one.
I call people in real life a shill. I'm like, you damn shill. And no one has once asked me, what is that? They just kind of look like, huh? And then carry on. Like either they are too crazy to ask, they don't want to feel bad that they don't know what it means, or...
Yeah, they don't want to ask a stupid question.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure, Ace, if you know
it's so
Migmac,
funny.
who just spoke with you. He currently lives in Finland, and Ian Leahy is here, who lives in Dorset in the UK. And you know David Weiss and Nathan and Antonio, of course, already. You
Hello, everybody.
lived in Houston, Texas, as I did, although we didn't live there at the same time, and now you're in Colorado. Recently, you spent some time in jail, and you got some flat Earth news out of that experience.
But
So-
wait, sorry. But first, will you please tell people, because I think it's freaking brilliant, it's fascinating, how you ended up in jail. What happened?
Oh, right.
The lead up with
Well,
your car.
yeah. So as soon as I moved here, I got my license switched over, but I didn't have whatever 4 types of verification that it was me. So they gave me a 60-day temporary. So that was, I had lived here about 60 days going on it, and there was a cop on my street. And as soon as I made the turn, the lights went on, as if they were waiting for me. The craziest part is she said my name as she was walking up to the car. Like, Ace McLeod, question mark, and I froze. I mean, normally I would know how to talk to cops, and I thought it was a setup, man. I thought the Illuminati was out to get me, honestly. But it's right after I started doing shows, and I for sure that it has anything to do with that, but it's just very suspicious. And my license had expired the day before. So they took me to jail, and there was almost no way I could fight it. I went for 6 months with the unconstitutional pretrial supervision where they drug test you and everything. And I finally had to go take a plea, which involved doing weekends in jail, like a Saturday night and Sunday type of thing. And it wasn't so bad. It was co-ed, Everyone was cool. I met a couple of flat earthers in there that had no idea who Mark Sargent was or Eric Dubay. They don't watch YouTube. They just know either because their family or because a professor in college told them. It was really bizarre. But there was a lot of open-minded people in there, a lot of people that do psychedelics and stuff like that. It wasn't your typical kind of jail scene, you know what I mean?
So you
I
had
had
to go
fun, honestly.
on the weekend for a long period of time every weekend.
Yeah, 8 weeks. Yeah.
Can I ask you a quick
Yeah,
question?
so yeah.
So was it
I mean,
like in 1984? Were they monitoring the conversations that were going on between you and these other people in that cell?
No, it was like, it'd almost be like an adult day camp or something. There really wasn't guards or police. They were dudes in polo shirts. No,
maybe-
we just
maybe
got to
microphones.
sit around smoking cigarettes. I'm sure that there's microphones and cameras everywhere.
Well,
But it's
I
just
learned-
one big, great cafeteria.
I learned from the Onion News that the colour red can report back to government, apparently, according to the Onion News.
He really said that?
Yes.
It's weird.
What do you mean the color red?
Is the Onion News, if you've not watched it, you have to watch
Yeah.
it. The special on mental health. It's awesome.
No.
But, so it was mixed gender. It was men and women at this
Yeah.
prison. Yeah?
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Yeah.
It was like
I
a
was
B&B.
blown away. Yeah. A lot of good
Breakfast.
conversations. You know?
What were you saying, Micmac?
So it's like a B&B, bed and breakfast.
Yeah.
A little bit, yeah. Except you bring your own food. I'm not going to eat that shit that they serve. But,
And
Yeah.
what was the accommodation like? What was the sleeping quarters?
bunks, a big ass room of just 2 bunks each.
Was there a toilet in your cell, or could you go out?
No, they had pretty nice toilets and showers, and they were, you know, they even had doors on them, so you're not having to do it in front of everybody.
And this was a result of you not having a correct license. is that what you're
Yes,
saying?
driving with a suspended license. You can get up to 60 days in jail, or is it 6 months? 6
I-
months.
Well, at least the police officer spoke to you first. I mean, you could have just been shot, I guess. I mean, that seems
Yeah.
to go on a bit.
Right. Oh, another bad thing is I have $500 in my wallet that was missing when I got out of jail.
Oh.
So
Wow.
Doesn't
You know.
surprise me, man.
What the
Well,
heck?
I just asked if it was in evidence, and I didn't push it any further than that. I was like,
Hmm.
screw it, you know.
So when the policewoman came up to you, you told me that you'd written a message for your brother.
Right. Yeah, I figured some shady shit was about to go down. I couldn't put my finger on what it would have been, but yeah, I'd written out a text message, hey, I'm on our street. You know, I don't know if I'm going to get arrested or not, but I just got pulled over head first. Like, it's just really weird. And because she went back to her car for like 15 minutes. And of course, all my neighbors are outside looking at me with their kids and everything. And I just moved in. They're probably like, who the hell is this guy? You know?
So how did,
And,
how did the officer know that you were Ace McLeod? I mean, it wasn't on the plate. There would be no way she could have run the plate and known that?
No, that particular car was never registered
Yeah,
to me.
that's crazy.
Yeah.
So
That's weird, yeah.
My other cars are,
So-
but not that one.
So you turn the corner, she pulls you over, flicks the siren on for a while to make sure everybody gets attention after you've stopped.
Right. After she already stopped, she put the noise on for like 15 seconds. Yeah.
So she
I pulled over thinking she was going to go past me. You know what I mean? And then she pulled right in front of me. So,
you've written a text to your brother, and she's at the window.
yeah.
Tell
Right. So she said, "Here, you need to take this to the DMV." I said, "Oh, is that a ticket?" She's like, "No, I'm not giving you a ticket." I'm like, "Oh, I really appreciate it. You know, I'm gonna go get this taken care of as soon as possible." And then she says, "I need you to step out of the car." I was like, "Okay." I hit send on my phone. That's it. She said, "I said step out of the car." You know, trying to make it seem like I'm resisting or something. So I got out of the car, and she proceeded to handcuff me. I didn't say anything else from then on.
I know that you're well versed in the freedom movement and how to talk to police officers.
Right.
Did you utilize any of those tactics?
No, my mind was scrambled as soon as, because I've never had a cop say my name as they're walking up to my car. You know, this was different. She was acting robotic. You know what I mean? I don't know if she's just a bitch to begin with, but there was no getting out of it. It was like her mind was made up before it happened. So.
But the funny thing is that you attribute it to all of a sudden doing videos on YouTube using your name publicly. Then this happened.
I know. I think it. You know, I know people don't believe in coincidences, but I'm going to hope
paranoia,
it was a coincidence. No, either way, there's some weird reason why. It's like they were looking for me. Whether there's nothing going on in my one-cop town, you know, like nothing. You know, it's just a bunch of families and stuff. There's not really much of any crime.
Has anyone else here had an experience where the law, to any degree, has known who they were, or anyone in authority has known who they were, and you attribute it to making videos? I've not.
No.
I certainly have the law know who I am, but not attribute it to videos.
Yeah, I think I have to add that, yeah, they know who I am as well, but not for videos. Not at all.
Well, a lot of people have said they're afraid to make videos, and this kind of a story would make a couple other people probably a bit scared. But it doesn't really matter. You still have to go forward and speak your truth, I think.
Right. You lose the fear element.
Yeah, exactly. If you're going to not make videos because you're afraid, then you might as well make videos and be afraid, because you're already afraid.
Yes.
So
there you go.
Yeah, and you're safer, I think, the more you step out and make yourself public, I would imagine, than if you
I think so.
are private.
I've heard that before.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's true or not. Tell
Well,
that
let's
to the
put it-
doctors who shoot themselves in the stomach 3 times and they call it suicide. They were public.
When I came up with the video on Hillary, I had it private for a little bit, and then I was convinced, just put it out there, and I did. So I want to go on record as saying I'm happy and I have no suicidal thoughts.
I don't know if anybody's familiar with Hunter S. Thompson, the guy who wrote Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas and the Rum Diaries, a really rum guy. He started calling, because he was a known character, he'd been a reporter. He's the guy who broke Watergate, let's not forget this. So because he was a character and well respected as an investigative journalist, or gonzo journalist, he started calling radio stations about 9/11, months after 9/11, after having looked into it. He started literally calling radio stations, not being booked by them to appear, you know, calling on the free lines, and shortly after starting to call radio stations, some of the calls are on YouTube now if anybody wants to listen to them. He is at home. He has his grandson, I think, at home, and he calls his girlfriend to find out what time she'll be home, just a normal conversation, and then commit suicide or is suicided. So these things do happen. I say this right after telling people not to be afraid. So, no, but the thing is, it's
Dr. David Kelly, Anton. You know, that's
totally,
crazy.
yeah. And what they did, Ian, you might remember this. I don't know if Nathan will. I don't know if Nathan you'll remember, but whenever they were reporting on the David Kelly case after he died, after he was found, there was show things like the police tape on the path. The white tent that they use here in the UK for forensics, they put a white tent around the body and they remove the body and then they keep that tent there whilst they investigate the area because of weather. they would show this from helicopter footage, and the footage, if you think back or if you try to find footage, you'll see that the footage was really grainy, poor, low quality. Now, I pointed this out to relatives.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
It was really poor quality. Now, you had the crystal clear reporters with all the images going back, in the background, all the swirling images and everything, and then this really poor, grainy image from the helicopters. And this is basically for the lowest common denominator to just switch off because it's not glitzy enough. You know.
And for those who aren't in the UK and have no idea the specifics of what you were talking about, can you give a little brief summation?
Yeah, Ian, you tell.
Well, Dr. Dave. Oh, sorry.
You're on.
You're on. You were
on. You're off now.
You've muted. You were on. Now you're
back on.
Okay,
back
good.
On. Dr. David Kelly. I think he was a guy that he was saying. Wasn't he part of the Iraq war thing for the missiles being 45 minutes away? Was that him?
He was the United Nations. The non-nuclear proliferation. He was the head of the United Nations
weapons inspectors, wasn't he?
Yes, the weapons inspector for the United Nations. This is the most high-ranking guy with the most expertise on how countries might hide weapons, and he'd been in and out of Iraq for more than 10 years, and he had reported there are no weapons there. They don't have any weapons. He has been given all access. He's totally aware of how they hide access, how they misdirect. He's aware of all of these things. He said he'd received very courteous courtesy. They've been very courteous. They helped everywhere. They've shown everything, because remember, this was how Saddam Hussein was going to lift the embargo on Iraq. So they were desperate to prove that they had no weapons. He wrote his report. The report was hidden, was buried, and was picked up by a guy with it from The Guardian, who wrote about a whistleblower, which was David Kelly, explaining that there are no weapons of mass destruction. Now, this went contrary to what Tony Blair was saying in a report, which was that the report was titled, the title of the report was Saddam Hussein and his program for the development of weapons of mass destruction. And this was sexed up to Saddam Hussein's program, Saddam Hussein's weapons of mass destruction. That same report, it had been excised, basically, to say he's got weapons all over the place, all kinds of weapons. They had completely changed the report. When he spoke, he was grilled, which goes against all the laws, because he signed the Official Secrets Act, which means nobody from outside of your department has a right to ask you a question and have it answered. Only your department, only the people that are involved in what you've been doing. But he was forced to answer questions before an impromptu panel.
That's right.
Answered these questions totally legitimately, and then was found dead. And the report was he'd committed suicide because of the pressure. Now, this is a guy who goes into countries.
It was literally the worst. It was the most obvious murder I'd ever seen, with all of it leading up to it and everything. It was rubbish. It stank of everything, you know. And I can't see how all of us, I still find it now sometimes, we're still not capable of rising up and going to Parliament and saying, listen, get out, you know. We
of these things.
Still have this apathy, but Flat Earth, I think, is a different type of apathy, because it's growing in numbers, and I think there's strength in numbers, and I think maybe that's the way that we might actually eventually do something that changes something.
I don't think, we said earlier that nothing happened. We got to a point where we were talking about events that don't happen, and what was going through my mind at the time is, well, what they want is our engagement in the system, and Thomas Sheridan calls it the psychopathic control grid. Now, we can call what we're doing now engagement in the system. Facebook, Twitter, television, radio, music, it doesn't matter what it is. They just want your engagement. So long as you're engaged with their system, you are a slave to it, no matter which way you look at it. Yeah, so the only way, and it's like how Thomas Sheridan describes how you detach yourself from a psychopath, is to have no contact with them. So, in other words, I'm far freer in my general being for not having a TV. That is simple as that. I've turned my back on TV, therefore I am free from that propaganda. I am no longer a slave to it. The same goes for the radio. I'm a slave to music. I'm still being indoctrinated by that on a daily basis, and I love it. I can't help myself. But, you know, it's not one of those things I'm telling everyone, chuck your TV out the window, but that's what I've done. And no contact ever again, it seems to work when you reference the psychopathic control grid that is the world that we live in.
And that takes us back to what we were talking about during Woodstock. That was a distraction in a way from the moon landing, and what we're being given all the time are distractions away from other things. And being here together now, all of us who are in chat, or all of us here gathered talking, and then those who will watch this at a later date, in some way we are engaging with the media, but it's also helping bolster up our confidence, although we're hearing about people who are trying to tell the truth being murdered. So, yeah, I don't know.
This it brings me back to what Antonio said about the art of war. Well, perhaps Google Plus Hangouts on Air is very literally them saying, right, well, we can't continue to convey this lie effectively. Let's let the people slowly trickle out this information. Let's lose. And so long as we've got control of the system that we're losing to, Google, then we've got full control over it.
If you can't beat them, join them, kind of, or have us join them, something like that.
I mean, it's almost like I'm saying it's a psyop. I'm not.
You know, talk about control over Google. You know how when you type things into Google, it guesses. Before, when you typed in Clinton or didn't even finish, it would guess death list. But now you can type in Clinton death LIS, and it still won't guess what it is. And then the big website Arkanside, I think it was called, Arkanside.com, gone. It just disappeared. So they are doing some serious damage control on Hitlery, and we will have a very interesting couple of months ahead of us.
Yeah, I think it was in the news that Google was involved in Hillary's campaign.
Well, if anybody's familiar with the Bilderberg Group, we know that that Mark Zuckerberg was there, the guys from Google, the guys from Yahoo. We know that all these guys have been there.
Yeah.
And
It goes back to what we were talking about, and what Crow 777 was talking about when he, on his recent podcast, when he used to use Facebook, but he doesn't use Facebook really much anymore due to the fact that he got locked out, and then he had to prove his identity and all of that, and you're no longer able to use a name such as Crow 777 or that. You have to prove your identity, and they're wanting us to do that. So, yeah, they want us all gathered together on one social platform, perhaps, or on multiple social platforms, where we're sharing truth.
If you think about what could happen right now, they have everybody recording everything digitally stored in the cloud. I mean, people aren't writing books and publishing books. It's all becoming digital. And then when they want, they can throw the stitch, and all of this history is gone. Once we die off, there's no record of what the heck, all of the research that's been done. It'll just reset back to ignorance.
Or one step further, they could just have a massive EMP release and wipe every single electronic circuit across the entire plane and take us back to the dark ages. No worries, easy to do.
Right. So all of the progress that we think we're making right now, people have short attention spans. They don't remember things very long. And, unless you have it in a physical book. That's why I'm a big fan of, I'll see something and then I'll get the book, And then if you hold on to these books, because digital books they're not going to last. They can actually change them. They've been caught editing Kindles after you've bought the book, where they change the text.
Yeah.
Wow, frightening. We don't have a whole lot of time left, and I wanted to discuss a little bit of, first, very quickly, Nathan and Antonio, the equinox is coming up, and this is in September. You're going to be tracking the sun and the moon this time. You don't have it all completely planned out, but could you just give us a little idea of what's going to happen?
Nathan?
Pretty much the same as last time. I mean, what we're going to ask people for is to tune in live before sun rises to share their sunrise with us, or at sunset to share their sunset with us, so that we can essentially track the sun live over the fat plane. That's what we did last time, and it's exactly the same this time. We're going to make a few minor adjustments, or a few additions, if you like. We want to add solar noon to that, so I'm hoping that Antonio or perhaps Robin Poe will put a video together, because I did a really poor job earlier today of explaining how I got to solar noon, which was looking it up and then basically looking at it and seeing when it was highest from my perspective. But there is very accurate, or more accurate and simple ways of getting solar noon, and hopefully people will get a bit more into it. And we've got a few weeks as opposed to a few days, which is all we had last time, to do a bit of preparation, do a bit more, I'm gonna have to call it this, but advertising, and yeah, just actually put the information out that we want very specifically. So yeah, before sunrise we want people to go out, figure out exactly when the light arrives, because for most people they won't see the disk of the sun till it's well and truly up. So it's more a case of figuring out when the light arrives rather than when the sun rises, unless you're over the ocean, in which case wonderful, it'd be great to actually see it arrive and see the disk of the sun, but for most that won't happen. Last time we got loads of really great sunsets, and I'm sure that'll be the same this time, but if we add to that solar noon and indeed the moon, because there's going to be people out there in the dark trying to wait for their sun to arrive, so we might as well get some captures of the moon at the same time. So with those small additions, it's pretty much going to be exactly the same as last time. It's on the 23rd, is that right?
22nd.
Sorry, 22nd. So Wednesday and Thursday will start at about midnight GMT on Wednesday, and then go all the way through to midnight on Thursday on the 22nd on the equinox.
Well, critics who love to be critical were saying, well, you did the tracking the sun, although the critics are people who've never participated in the event. But where's the data? Where's the information? It's all for naught. It's ridiculous. It's a time waste. You guys are a psyop. I've heard those who put this together, Nathan, Antonio, and the rest of the people involved. The information is there. It's in the videos. If you want to find the information, just go watch the videos and plot it yourself. In this case, is there going to be more information taken down when you do track the sun and moon? So that
well, Antonio's nodding. I'm going to say no. I mean, if somebody presents me with a form to do it, then yeah, I will. But my primary purpose will be the same as last time, which is to capture the data, make sure nobody joins the Hangout and messes it all up, there's not horrible trolling, it runs smoothly, there's plenty of backup Hangouts, people are actually sharing their suns. That will be my primary focus. And by doing that last time, it meant that I can look down the barrel of the lens and say, if you want that data, it's there. You just have to look. Now, you can do double speed if you want to go through it over the course of a week and spend a couple of hours a day looking at it and making notes for yourself. You can, because it was captured live. And I stress that because a few people, well, one or two, wanted to share their sun that they captured earlier. So they've gone out, they've done a really good job, they've set up their tripod, they've filmed it, they wait till the sun tracking starts and say, here's my sun from earlier. No good. Useless. It must be live, so that we can literally see the position of the sun, where it is there and then, from many different vantage points. That's the whole point. Live.
I will be writing a very simple form, sending it to anybody who's going to be hosting a Hangout, and anybody who wants a form, who might, dedicate the time to jotting down the details. I'll email it to anyone.
Well, not to poo-poo that idea. That's wonderful, and I completely agree. But this is a group effort. So what kind of annoyed me was the people pointing fingers going, where's this extra spoon of information? David Weiss, you'll always say about giving people one spoonful. Well, people seem to come to the table and say, right, well, thanks for that spoonful. Where's the rest of it? It's like, well, okay, we've got... I know Antonio, me, you, Robin Poe, a whole bunch of other people have a lot on our plate on that day. So, feel free to jot down
Nathan,
data and then
I have a question.
And present it.
I have a question. How do you identify where these people are?
They tell us.
Yeah, well, they how do you know? I mean, how do you know where they are?
Well, we don't.
We don't. That's a good point. We don't.
Unless a whole bunch of them are going to lie, and we'll be able to pick them out from the wheat from the chaff, because everybody will be saying, okay, I'm here, this is the sun. If they say I'm some distant place and here's the sun, well, I said, no, it isn't. It's not risk. It hasn't rose yet in this point, so you're just talking shit. So,
unfortunately, David, we have to take it on trust. That's unfortunate, but that's just reality.
I think,
and
though,
you'd
it's
like
a
to
great
think
event.
the people involved would,
Yeah,
would be
Yes.
our sort of people, you know.
Yes.
We tried that with NASA.
Well, they're not our sort of people. We found out. But I think it was a good community. I don't know if we're a community or not. It was a good bonding
Group effort.
experience.
Group effort.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a group effort, and it made everyone on the days that it was done feel happy and excited and close and looking at the beautiful sunrises and sunsets. That information there, the feeling of connectedness, I think was invaluable. So.
And it's a shame. It's a shame Cammie's not here. She's used this data. It's been useful. Let's face it. It's resulting in things. So
the truth is, Nathan, the truth is, we didn't think of sitting there and jotting down all of the details. We didn't expect so many people to show lack of sun 3 hours after sunrise, and all of these things. Now we've experienced it, teething problems. Now I'm going to put out a form. Really simple. Location, time, sun. So that place is time. Sun, show the sun. And the azimuth. That's it. I'm not interested in any sunrise that happened 10 or 15 minutes ago. None of that. We're trying to establish how the sun moves. So it's a really simple form, and I'll pass it to anybody who wants. I will put down details from my session. I'm hoping Nathan will put down from his. I know he isn't because but other people will. So we'll put down the details as and when they're given, and then we don't have to review 24 hours of footage to find those details. They'll be there. They'll already be there. I know Robert Shortman will jot them down as he goes along. I will. Who knows who else will be joining us and will be jotting them down, and then we can just pass them to each other. Anybody who wants the details can either beg really nicely or go and watch it and jot it down for yourself.
So we only have a little bit of time left till we close the show, and I wanted to get to kind of an alternative health aspect, which I try to do in all of these Monday Secret shows. So I'm going to ask Mi'kmaq, who has interest in this sort of thing that we've briefly discussed. I don't really know the depth of it or where it actually lies. Alternative health-wise, Mi'kmaq, what are your concerns, ideas, thoughts? What are you into?
Yeah, well, I've had 2 family members that died with cancer. And ever since that happened, I started to research, what you can do to help people with cancer. Because at that time, I was a bit afraid to look into it because you have that shock that you can't do anything, and it just means death. So yeah, I looked into it, and I found Dr. Wallach. He has a book, and he has a lecture that you can see on YouTube called "Dead Doctors Don't Lie." And what he says is that you have to change your food habits, and most of the health problems that people have nowadays is a nutritional deficiency, and most people don't know that. Even doctors, doctors have 1 hour of study about nutrition in their whole medical education. So they're not really.
Oh, sorry. I was going to ask what Dr. Wallach recommends that we need when it comes to nutrition that we're missing. Anything key?
Well, he talks about the 90 essential nutrients, and it's a huge list of nutrients, and he says that ever since we stopped cooking with wood, that we stopped using the wood ashes for our land to grow the vegetables and fruits, and that's an important thing of growing your own food, because if you don't give them the minerals, then you're not going to have them when you eat them. And when we change that part of our lives, we change the food quality, and and yeah, since then we don't get the nutrition that we need.
Could you name the book again and the spelling of Dr. Wallach for those who are interested in looking it up?
It's Wallach is Wallach.
All right, cool, wonderful.
And he has that book, Dead Doctors Don't Lie, and he has a recent one that is called Epigenetics, which is a new field of research that links genes with nutrition.
And he also has he did a speaking tour. He's done a series of speaking tours about Dead Doctors Don't Lie.
Yeah, he's done a few of them.
Yeah.
Does anyone else have anything they want to mention on alternative health? I know, Ian, you were posting on Facebook about Rick Simpson cannabis oil. Anybody else? Ace, as you're driving around, you feel free to chime in as well, too. But go ahead, Ian.
Yeah, I mean, listen, most of us, the Rick Simpson and the amazing work and the amount of people he's cured, etc. But we seem to have a lack in this country of medical understanding of cannabis, or it's all being done behind the scenes. There are places, and I try and advocate this to people, there seems to be a high concentration of cancer in Swanage, which is where my business is. and it's with people that I know, and there seems to be an awful, because it's a small town, so one person gets cancer, it's quite a big thing, and I've offered this oil. There's places in the UK you can get it at £55 a gram, no questions asked, blah blah blah, everything's great. And the reluctance for people to use it or try it or look into it it's that cognitive dissonance again. It's the big pharma and hospitals, they know best, figures of authority, so chemotherapy, radiotherapy must be my only cure. No, not at all. Thank you very much. If my children ever had any types of cancer, the hospital would be the last place I send them to. Simple as that. And that's not because I just don't believe anything anymore that's particularly medicine. Cancer doesn't create cures, it creates customers. It is such a massive industry, and it's terrible. It's an evil thing. It's just like they're recycling bodies, and they're putting poor people. This is quite an old, it's an elderly population where we are, and some guy's coming in and he's saying about it. And he's got Parkinson's disease, and whilst I try not to push this sort of agenda, I think it's really important. And I said, well, listen, have you tried, cannabis oil, cannabinoid oils, to relieve some of the stresses and the movement of your disease? He says, no, what is it? And he's an old boy, so I wrote it down. But you can, and he's on 20 tablets a day. And that's a conservative amount of tablets for some people. 20 a day. I'm thinking, that's a great life, But it's all money. It's all about the money. As long as they can keep you ill enough to not get cured and live as long as they can milk whatever. It's horrible. It's just a horrible world we live in. It really is.
And if you make them think that, why would you trust a person that lives until 56 or 57 years? The doctors, they don't live very long. So why would you trust them with your health if they don't live long anyway? And they tell us all the time that cancer is a disease. Cancer is not a disease. Cancer is a body defense system trying to push these bad cells into a corner of the body.
Yeah, and wall them off in a tumor so the body can handle them. Hopefully.
Exactly.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I'd like to chime in. I got an email from somebody through the website saying, hey, I listened to your shows, your interviews, and he goes, but my kids listen, and when you talk about drugs, you discredit yourself. And I really thought about it, and I don't do drugs. I mean, doctors prescribe drugs. I do plants, and I don't even, I've replaced all my medicine with cannabis oil. I don't smoke it, I ingest it. But Paige is a personal organizer and life coach essentially, and she has a client who is just very. She has pain all the time. She's on pain pills every day. She has problems. She can't relax. She can't sleep. She takes sleeping pills. She takes everything. And this was just the other day, and Paige she said she didn't know what to do, and Paige gave her a lollipop, a 50 milligram lollipop, and she ate a little less than half of it at 1 o'clock. She ate a little bit of it, and then we went back and saw her at 8 p.m. I wish I had videoed this. She told a story where her entire life changed in that 5, 6, 7 hours, whatever it was. She laughed, she cried, she had a crisis, she was holding on to the earth. She said it was 30 years of therapy. Her pain completely disappeared. She's not taking any of her pain medication anymore, and she's just taking microdoses of edible cannabis. I mean, the psychological breakthrough she had, the physical breakthrough. You know, the cannabis it's a great anti-inflammatory systemically, and this was a story that it literally changed my understanding of the power of this companion plant to the human race.
Companion plant, I like that a lot. Ace
Indeed.
McLeod, we only have a few minutes left. Ace, what about any sort of alternative
Yeah.
health thing that you're interested in?
Well, anything with high alkaline content, pH, from what I understand, almost all sickness has to do with your body being acidic. So if you can neutralize that acid with sodium bicarbonate, they make, it's all in your diet. You want to eat
Oh, it's breaking up quite a lot.
foods that are as closely related to the sun and stuff.
I'm going to unmute you, Ace, because I don't like you. No, actually.
No, Ace, what was happening was you were coming through like a robot.
Yes.
And it wasn't a robot that we could understand.
Exactly.
Take me to your leader.
There you go.
Yeah, you mean alkalize your body, eat alkaline foods, don't keep your body not in an acid state. Even sodium bicarbonate, or as they say, baking soda in the United States, is a great way to do that on a quick way. Let's see if we can hear you at all, Ace, where you are right now.
Can you unmute, Ace?
Yeah, is that any better?
Yeah,
Way better.
Yeah, well, I had a horribly depressing story. My neighbor, when I was quite a bit younger, she perfectly healthy. One day comes back from the doctor, all of a sudden she's got breast cancer, right? Nothing, not a damn thing looked wrong with her. She would have never known she wasn't sick. 2 months later, she looked like a skeleton, and 4 months later, she was dead. Now, would that have happened if she never even would have went to the doctor and found out she had cancer? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, I didn't know back then that chemo was such a horrible, horrible thing, but, it is, and that should be the last thing you try, not the first.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's so depressing that some of these older people will not try any other alternative medicine,
Well,
They won't.
If you've got a parent or a grandparent, just give them something like David gave, an edible or a little bit of Rick Simpson oil.
Hold on. One thing though, my aunt cured herself and her friend of diabetes. She had diabetes for years and years, and apparently found out that if you take a lot of cinnamon, so she was putting cinnamon in everything and also taking supplements, and it cured, now not just helped, but cured her diabetes to where she doesn't take medicine for it anymore.
Wow.
And she's had it for like 15 years, and it's the kind you get when you're overweight and all that.
Yes.
So, just little things like that. And I love the boron. I don't take it every day anymore, but you know, colloidal silver is pretty badass too. So
Yeah. Well, we can't get borax here in the UK, and I never tried it when I was in the
No.
US. So shame.
How
Yeah.
often do you take the borax, Ace, and how much do you take?
I just honestly, I don't even mix it with water. I just eat about a teaspoon
Huh.
once a day, and not even every day. Sometimes I forget. But the best results were like right when I started taking it. I could, you know, a couple days later, I could tell. Even gives you a little bit of energy.
Hmm.
But what else was I gonna say? Oh yeah, they sell boron supplements. You could try a supplement store and maybe just
That's
get the
true.
straight boron.
I'm not sure if it would be the same, but it's worth trying for sure.
It's very, very close to the same, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you.
The
I hate to
boron.
cut you off
Yeah.
and everyone off, but we've reached the end because the show is going to shut itself down if I don't shut it down. So thank you to Ace McLeod and Ian Leahy and Mig Mag and David Weiss and Nathan Oakley and he's okay too. This has been The Secret Hangout, and I hope all in chat have enjoyed, and all who are watching this at a later date. Let the thumbing down begin. Thumbs it down if you don't like it. I'm happy with that. Thumbs it up if you like it. And until we meet again, keep it flat.